the 5th race in the Swann Insurance Series for 1987.
That's 36 kilometres around this 2.4 kilometre racetrack. Big field lining up, the biggest entry they've had for the 3 rounds so far. And here they are. Michael Dowson on 1, McGee's on 2, Campbell's on 3, Scollia is on 4, Roger Marshall is, as I say, the best of the visiting riders.
And the exciting news is that because the start is so essential, Malcolm Campbell has a new version of the NR750 clutch fitted to his machine after problems in the first 2 rounds, and says that it is an improvement, but he still requires a really delicate touch to get away, and it'll be interesting to see just who does make it to the first corner in front.
Kevin McGee, then Malcolm Campbell. Behind was Len Willing. That's Robbie Scollia. That's Roger Marshall. This really is a tense puck. It's very, very difficult to overtake around this track.
Ready now for a start. Bad start
trying to move and then was held back, but he punched away pretty well. But it is the Marlborough Yamaha rider, Michael Dowson, the series leader, who punches up into the lead. I think McGee will join him. No, sir, he's 4th.
Peter Goddard up into 2nd. Peter Goddard up into 2nd. Sensational start from Goddard on the Moriwaki as they come through the carousel for the first time. It's Michael Dowson in the lead. Goddard 2nd, then Marshall.
And then McGee rounding him up. And Malcolm Campbell was 2 places behind McGee in 4th. Campbell was back in 6th. This man, Dowson, did it right. And McElnay looks at Rob Holden immediately in front. Rob Holden's bike with an on-bike camera facing the rear. Now sweeping up through Hungry Corner, up towards the top of the hill. Led by Dowson, then McGee. And there's Campbell. And Scollia's 2 places behind him, and Robert Holden with the camera bike facing the rear. And McElnay immediately behind him. Looping down now as McGee gets out after Michael Dowson. And they do 66 seconds for their standing lap, and McGee is beautifully positioned. 15 laps, not ready to move yet. Peter Goddard still 3rd on the Moriwaki Honda number 14.
3.02 seconds separates Mike Dowson back to Malcolm Campbell in 5th position.
And Roger Marshall's in front of him immediately in 4th place. There's Marshall, there's Campbell.
And the Yamaha men have the advantage, a tremendous advantage, because and that's McGee McGee looked as though he was going to go through there, but Dowson hangs on to the advantage, and these men really are getting away from Campbell because he has 2 riders in front of him, and it's going to be very hard for him to get past before the 2 Yamahas have disappeared over the horizon.
Robbie Scollia next, then Anders Anderson.
And the rear wheel of Dowson's machine bumping all over the place there as he came down into that last right-hander before the start and finish straight. But it didn't seem to slow him at all.
The first 6 separated by just Len Willing. Len Willing down on 49.
That's at Hungry Corner going up the hill.
And very fortunately, Willing chose a place, one of the few places to fall where there's no crash barriers here at Lakeside, and he's just gone across the grass, so although he looks dazed at the moment, with any luck he won't be seriously injured.
Dowson now, the leader, but also the hunted as Kevin McGee punches out so hard out of what they call the bus stop area, the chicane that was built to narrow the approach angle and also the speed to the bridge where there was a fatality last year. And McGee is not wanting to pass at this stage on lap 3. He wants to haunt Michael Dowson and to pressure him. He's staying with him. You remember what he did on the last lap, tried to do, down the inside of him at Calder Raceway. Some of the pit crew of those 2 riders say Michael Dowson puts on the blinkers when he goes out to race, and that he had them on at Calder.
And Campbell now up into 3rd place, and he has a clear road ahead of him with just these 2 men to chase, and he's really catching them quickly now. He's passed both Goddard and Roger Marshall.
He looked the most spectacular of them all yesterday, Malcolm Campbell. He really had his bike working hard. He's only about 2 seconds in arrears now. He is flying. This is building up to the sort of race that I thought we'd get at Lakeside, because Kevin McGee does not want to leave this series headed for Europe without a win. He got 2 wins in the series last year.
And if McGee was sitting behind Dowson, he won't any longer, because he must surely be told that Campbell is catching him, and he knows that Campbell will be on them any second.
Sensational time, 61.86 on
and
the lead.
Campbell really trying the back end sliding now. Look at it, buck and weave. He's got all it on. Just fighting to make control of the NR750.
They're 1 second between the first three. They're absolutely rocketing. Boy, this is absolutely sub-lap record stuff. Malcolm Campbell he's not off the air, but he's got his neck out that far. He's like a turtle. Gee whiz, it's daring stuff. 160 horsepower, and I reckon he's using every one of them. And if you went round pundits last night and this morning and said, who'll win tomorrow, you got as many versions as there were people, because they just don't know. They all know of the various reasons these riders want to win. There's now half a second between the three of them as they punch up the hill for the 5th time. It's still only 1/3 race distance as the Honda rider gets onto the two Yamaha riders. And if they sleep any longer, he'll be through on both of them. He is hooking together some fearsome laps, Malcolm Campbell.
Now, interestingly, the two Yamahas just got away from Campbell coming down the hill, but he may, of course, have hung back to get a clear run through the fast right-hander. He's now right with them again.
Campbell yesterday timed at 212 kilometres an hour through that right-hander.
In fact, Kevin McGee later on, that must have been slow track, because with the police radar showed Kevin McGee fastest at 234. And
McGee goes past. McGee looking for there's almost no room there, but McGee and Dowson side by side. Dowson puts his foot out, says, move over, buddy, this is my line.
Now, Campbell up onto them.
Kevin McGee leads. I thought it was McGee's foot, but it was Kevin McGee's foot who said, don't do to me what you did to me at Calder. Unbelievable stuff.
And the lap record lowers again, 61.6 seconds this time round.
And you can see it. There's about 1/10 of a second between three race riders at 235 kilometres an hour. And Campbell now will be second as he hooks inside Michael Dowson. They almost touched there, Dowson and Campbell going for the same piece of line, but Dowson forced wide, Campbell underneath him into second place. McGee has the advantage now, but Campbell's still closing all the time. What a lap for Michael Dowson, kicked by his teammate 1 minute ago. The Honda rider rides underneath him and takes no notice of him coming across, and finally forces and forges his way past him, and he's gone from first to third. And this is the formation that could put Kevin McGee on a win in the Swann series, the series overall, because Dowson only has to finish third and second in today's two heats. McGee first in both, and McGee wins the series. That's what he's after, and at the moment he's in position to do it. This is lap 7 coming up for completion.
Now almost the full distance of the straight separates these three from the 4th place man Roger Marshall. Behind him comes Pete Goddard, then moving up into 5th position is Rob Scollier on the second of the Works Hondas.
And it is McGee, Mr. Super Smooth. He just looks so beautiful when he does a quickie. Malcolm Campbell, by comparison, partially the bike as they sort out the handling, partially his riding style, looks pretty ragged, pretty exciting. But they're both super quick, brilliant race riders. And I think it's they that will now argue the second half of this race. This is exactly half race distance. Looks almost as though Kevin McGee, and it's just as bad behind, I might say. There are 5 bikes, which is Roger Marshall, Peter Goddard, Robbie Scollier, Michael Doohan on 51, that are sandwiched together as well.
The lap record tumbles once again, 61.44. Now remember, when Kevin McGee did his 61.1 in practice this morning, he did it on a soft rear tyre. Now he's on a hard tyre, and they're still getting down to those times.
And on the tail of that bunch, there is Robert Holden on top of the ones I mentioned, and there is 0.64 of a second over 5 of them. Sensational motorcycle racing at Lakeside. Lap 9, Kevin McGee, look at him, tucked down now. And he says, don't get ragged, Kevin. Concentrate lines, braking points, do it smoothly. You'll do the times and you'll beat Malcolm Campbell. And boy, oh boy, he gets the bike sliding too much and he has to sit up and straighten up and drop a tenth or so. And Malcolm gets right onto him. And Dowson cannot keep up with them. I don't think Michael Dowson can stay with them.
Peter Clifford, the heat here at Lakeside today is likely to affect tyre performance in the closing stages of this race.
Yes, it certainly could do. The ambient temperature and of course this incredible pace working together, and it may just be that Dowson abused his tyres a little bit too much at the beginning trying to get away, and that's why he's now dropped back. Impossible to tell from this distance, but everybody working the tyres very hard now.
Race leaders, McGee, Campbell, Yamaha, Honda. 5 valves per cylinder, oval pistons on the Honda. High tech, high power, forefront of engineering technology in these two motorcycles. Equivalent to Formula One car racing.
There's 4th position.
And have a look at this bunch of 5. Look at them. And just dropping off them's Michael Doohan.
Peter Goddard in the lead on 14, then comes Roger Marshall.
And then Robbie Scollier, Robert Holden and Doohan. Holden's just got past Doohan. There's less than a second between the 5 of them. And they're occupying 4th, back to 8th place. There's Goddard, look at them. That's the dice behind Michael Dowson. Boy, what a race. Goddard, Scollier, he's 4th place, Goddard on the Morawaki Honda, and he has a chance to beat Roger Marshall in the series and in the race which he's trying to do, because now you still see McGee leading down Campbell. Campbell crashed at Oran Park. Kevin McGee crashed in qualifying at Calder. Riders have had major injuries this year. Kevin McGee, a slight crack of his femur due to a crash at Bathurst. Malcolm Campbell, a couple of months later, did his collarbone at Lakeside at Winton. And Michael Dowson at this very track in May broke his leg and his wrist.
3.54 seconds the gap now from this man Kevin McGee back to his teammate Mike Dowson in 3rd place.
And now we see McGee and Campbell catching up a slow man. Now this could be crucial. It's a really tight section of the track, and if McGee has to hesitate in his passing manoeuvre, Campbell will be on him. No, McGee safely passed. Now that turns the table. Will that give McGee a breathing space? It looks as though he's opened up a few large lead over Campbell, who is yet to pass the slower man.
And there's the Goddard, Robbie Scollier, Robert Holden dices. Holden keeps forging forward. He's now ahead of Roger Marshall. There's Marshall, 4th in the bunch, ahead of Mick Doohan, who's 5th. And Rob McElnay's not in it. And significantly, Doohan's bike's an 820 Yamaha. Rob McElnay's is 1,000. So Doohan, who hasn't been doing the series, is doing best of those two bikes at the moment. This is the race lead as they complete lap 12. 3 remain. Michael Dowson's 3rd.
And dropping back, 4.19 seconds the gap now from 1st to 3rd place.
So Kevin McGee is on target. He's certainly in with a potential.
Rob Scollier moves
Swann series on the basis of this result.
Rob Scollier moves up into 4th place, and he's 13.14 seconds off the leader.
Well, this is the form, Peter Clifford, surely, that's seen Kevin McGee so strongly endorsed for overseas. I've said that at Oran Park in round 1 he was playing it a little bit cool, as we see this secondary dice in the race at the moment being led by Robbie Scollier. He's got ahead of Goddard. But I said that McGee was, with a trip to Singapore immediately in the week following, was content to take those second places at Oran Park and reasonably happy at Calder. But he said, I had no front tyre that worked properly for the first heat at Calder. I was down on power for Oran Park. Today everything's right. Of course I'm going for the win.
Yes, he certainly is repeating now the form we've seen him show in Europe, and he now seems to have dropped Campbell. McGee out on his own, not under the same sort of pressure he has been for the first 3/4 of the race, riding absolutely beautifully, smoothly, but still the machine sliding and weaving. That tells you that it's right on the limit.
Dowson in warm-up this morning had a miss in his engine. Warren Willing, the team chief, said they traced it to some dirt in the carburettor flat bowl, but I wonder, Peter Clifford, whether it might have come back.
Well, yes, it's a real concern, isn't it? Because they only just had time to bolt the machine back together before this race, and of course that could be the reason why Dowson is now slipping behind in third place.
2 seconds, McGee back to Malcolm Campbell. He's on lap 14, so 1 remain after this, and this really is the smooth, flowing, daring, high-speed brilliance of the man that goes to the World Championships next year with just an absolute trunkful of natural ability. He's out on the final lap for 15th in this heat. Campbell is second. It's about 5 seconds behind Michael Dowson in third place. It would be 14, 15 seconds back to the dices. Kevin McGee finds his tyres have gone off and the bike's giving him exciting time. He's well in control. Scollier, then Robert Holden, then Peter Goddard, then Roger Marshall, and Mick Doohan are the bikes behind.
The pace is still right on. McGee has just been timed at a 61.42. 1 second under the lap record on the final lap of the race.
And with his tyres not actually in superb order. And remember this, that Kevin McGee has a radial rear but a cross-ply front. Malcolm Campbell has developmental Michelin radials all round on his Honda. So has a slight advantage.
But one of the things that impressed Roberts and everybody else in Europe about McGee is his ability to ride on what amount to old, well-used tyres.
And Kevin McGee does it. He takes the checkered flag and wins the 5th race, the 3rd leg, round 1 of the Swann Insurance Motorcycle Series from Malcolm Campbell, with Michael Dowson still the series leader in 3rd position.
By 2 points. Kevin McGee started this race 7 behind. He has now gained 5 points on Michael Dowson. So that race went for 15 minutes, 31.91 seconds. This man doing an absolutely sensational job, and he averaged 139 kilometres an hour around a very tight, very twisty and a very bumpy racetrack, and was just superbly in control. So there are the placings for this 5th heat, the first heat of round 3 of the 3 consecutive weeks of the Swann Insurance Series. Kevin McGee, Marlboro Yamaha; Malcolm Campbell, Team Honda Australia; Michael Dowson, the Marlboro Yamaha team, in 3rd.
Kevin, sensational stuff. No one would have thought it possible. 61-second laps the whole way.
Well, the bike's working pretty good around here. We spent a fair bit of time with the suspension and stuff. I'm quite happy with the way the bike's going. Having a bit of a problem with rear tyres, but you just got to, when it goes sideways, just try and keep it there and not let it go any further.
What's this kick of the foot to your teammate?
He doesn't usually leave me much room, so I just letting him know I was there.
Did you do it especially just to open up the gap for him?
No, I was already in front. I just was saying leave me a bit more room sometimes.
The pressure that came on you in the last laps from Malcolm Campbell, was it great?
Oh. No. Yeah, it was a bit. I thought there's a lot of corners where I'm not happy with sort of pushing the front end of the bike in there under brakes. So, Mel was obviously prepared to go a bit further, so I tried to get back as quick as I could before he got into a rhythm in front of me. So
Kevin, now it all comes down to the final race this afternoon. It's winner take all between you and Mike Dowson. Mike, how do you feel about that?
Oh, we had a few problems in the first leg, and I'm sure the second one will be a bit better for us.
But you realise now that the point situation is that whoever wins the final wins the series.
Sure.
That's fair, isn't it?
They're amazing guys, aren't they? And the situation now in this 10th Swann Insurance International Motorcycle Series, with just 1 race remaining, is that the series must be fought out between Michael Dowson and Kevin McGee, just 2 points in arrears. If McGee wins the final, he wins the series. The 2 Honda riders now cannot win under any circumstances. Malcolm Campbell, Robbie Scollier, Roger Marshall, the best of the visitors and the best of the Suzukis. Robert Holden, also on a Suzuki.